In a small village nestled within the lush greenery of Kedugu, there once lived a young girl named Bintu. She was as beautiful as the setting sun over the river Kedugu, with skin that glistened like the morning dew and a smile that could melt the hardest of hearts. Her laughter was like the tinkling of tiny bells, bringing joy to everyone around her. Bintu lived with her blind grandmother Kumba, a wise and kind woman who had seen much in her years despite her lack of sight. Though her eyes could no longer see the world, her heart and mind were sharp, full of stories and wisdom passed down through generations. Kumba often warned Bintu about the dangers of love. Her voice soft but firm as she recounts tales of heartache and sorrows that had befallen many in their village. My child, she would say, her hands gently tracing Bintu's face. Love is like a flame. It can warm you, but if you're not careful, it can also burn you to ashes. Bintu would listen, but her heart heavy with the weight of her grandmother's words. But like all young hearts, hers was wild and free, eager to explore the world and its many mysteries. The words of caution from her grandmother could not dim the light of hope and curiosity in her eyes. Bintu had fallen deeply in love with Prince Billy, a young and handsome prince adored by all in the kingdom. His presence was magnetic, and his smile could make the most stoic of hearts flutter. Their love was passionate and pure, like a vibrant flower blooming in the heart of the forest. But it was also forbidden. The kingdom had strict rules about who the prince could marry, and a commoner like Bintu was not on that list. Yet, love knows no boundaries, and the two often met in secret. Under the cover of the darkness, hidden by tall trees and the night sky, their love blossomed in shadows, far from the prying eyes of the kingdom. Every night as the village slept, Bintu would quietly slip out of her home, her heart pounding with anticipation. She would make her way through the dense forest, where Billy awaited her, his eyes lighting up as she approached. They would embrace, holding each other close as if they were trying to fuse their souls together. In those stolen moments, the world outside ceased to exist. They were the only two people in the universe. Their love, a powerful force that nothing could destroy, or so they believed. But love has a way of revealing itself. And soon, Bintu found herself with a child. The realization hit her like a tidal wave, overwhelming her with a mix of emotions: joy, fear, excitement, and anxiety. She confided in her grandmother, who with tears in her eyes warned her of the dangers that laid ahead. My child, Kumba said softly, her voice quavering with sorrow. The love between you and a prince is like the river, strong and beautiful, but also dangerous. The king will not allow this. Bintu's heart ached as she heard her grandmother's words, but she was determined to keep her love and her child safe. She decided to hide her pregnancy, fearing the wrath of the king and the consequences it would bring upon her and her unborn child. She continued to meet Billy, their love growing stronger with each passing day, though a shadow of fear loomed over them. Every time they met, Bintu would clutch her growing belly, praying silently for the safety of her child. Billy, unaware of the true danger, promised Bintu that one day they would be together, no matter what. He spoke of a future where they could live openly without fear or shame. But deep down, Bintu knew the reality of their situation. The kingdom's rules were unyielding, and their love, as powerful as it was, might not be enough to overcome them. When Bintu gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, whom she named Aisha, the news spread through the kingdom like wildfire. The villagers whispered among themselves, their voices filled with a mix of awe and fear. How could a commoner bear the child of a prince? The king, upon hearing the news, was furious. His rage was like a storm, fierce and unrelenting. He could not allow such a scandal to tarnish the royal name. He ordered his guards to find Bintu and the child and to eliminate both. Bintu's world crumbled around as she heard of the king's decree. The joy she had felt at the birth of her daughter was replaced by a cold, suffocating fear. She knew she had to leave the village to protect her child from the wrath of the king. In the dead of the night, with tears streaming down her face, Bintu fled the village, clutching her newborn daughter tightly to her chest. The forest, once a place of love and joy, now seemed ominous and threatening. Every rustle of the leaves, every snap of a twig sent chills down her spine. As she ran through the dense forest, her breath raged and her heart pounding. An arrow suddenly pierced through the night, striking her from behind. The pain was excruciating, swearing through her body like fire. She stumbled, falling to the ground, her life slipping away as she held her baby one last time. Aisha, she whispered, her voice weak and filled with love. My love, you are my heart. You must live. With those words, Bintu passed away, her soul departing with the wind, leaving the infant alone in the world. Aisha was found by an old woman in a nearby village, who took her in and raised her as her own. The old woman had no children of her own, loved Aisha dearly, and taught her everything she knew. As Aisha grew, she became a striking beauty. Her mother's likeliness reflected in her every feature. She had the same glowing skin, the same enchanting smile, and the same spark in her eyes. She was kind, wise, and graceful, much like the grandmother she never knew. Years passed, and Aisha, now a young woman, felt an inexplicable pull toward the kingdom. It was as if a hidden force was calling her, drawing her towards something she could not understand. The old woman, sensing that Aisha's destiny lay beyond her small village, encouraged her to follow her heart. Go, my child, she said, her voice filled with both pride and sadness. The world is waiting for you. Aisha ventured into the kingdom, her heart filled with both excitement and trepidation. The bustling markets, the grand plazas, and the people all felt strangely familiar, as if she had walked these streets before. There, she caught the eyes of King Billy, who had long since ascended to the throne. Billy, who had never forgotten Bintu, felt a strange connection to Aisha. Though he did not recognize her, her presence stirred something deep within him, a memory long buried but never forgotten. She was different, intriguing, and he could not help but fall in love with her. Aisha, unaware of her true lineage, was equally captivated by the king. He was powerful, commanding, yet gentle in her presence. His eyes, though filled with the weight of the crown, softened when he looked at her. The two quickly grew close, their bond deepening with each passing day. Aisha felt like a sense of belonging with Billy, as if they were two halves of the same soul. The love they shared was undeniable, and soon Aisha became Billy's second wife, joining him in his palace. But their happiness was short-lived. The palace, once a place of joy and celebration, soon became a cage of secrets and lies. It wasn't till after Aisha gave birth to her child that the truth began to unravel. Kumba, who had always felt a deep connection to the granddaughter she never met, sensed that her blood was near. She sought out Aisha, following her instincts to the palace. The journey was long and arduous, but Kumba's determination was unwavering. She had to find her granddaughter, to protect her from the fate that had befallen her mother. When Kumba, who had regained her sight after Bintu left, laid eyes on Aisha, she knew immediately who she was. The resemblance to Bintu was unmistakable, and the bond between them was palpable. She saw a mark of their family lineage on Aisha's left arm. With trembling voice, Kumba revealed the truth to Aisha and Billy. "This is your daughter," she said, her voice heavy with sorrow. "This is the child of Bintu, the love of your youth." The revelation hit them like a thunderstorm, shaking the foundation of their world. Billy, devastated, realized that the woman he loved, the mother of his child, was his own flesh and blood. The horror of the truth was unbearable, his mind reeling with implications. Aisha, horrified, could hardly comprehend the reality of her situation. She felt as if the ground beneath her feet had crumbled, leaving her in a free fall of despair. The kingdom, once filled with whispers of love, was now silent, its people waiting to see what would become of their king and his new queen. The jealousy and rivalry that had existed between Aisha and the other women in the palace now seemed trivial. The love that had once been their greatest joy had become their greatest tragedy. Aisha and Billy's world was forever changed, and the kingdom would never be the same again. The once celebrated union had become a source of shame and sorrow, casting a dark shadow over the royal family. In the end, Aisha could not stay in the palace. The weight of the truth was too much to bear, and the whispers of the court were suffocating. She returned to the village with Kumba, seeking solace in the simple life she once knew. The return was bittersweet, as she left behind the man she loved and the life she had built, but she knew it was the only way to protect herself and her child from the curse of their lineage. Aisha raised her child with the wisdom and strength she had inherited from her grandmother. Though her heart ached with the memories of Billy, she found peace in the knowledge that her mother's love had brought her into the world, and that love, despite its tragic end, had not been in vain. Billy, heartbroken, ruled the kingdom with a heavy heart. The love he had lost, first with Bintu and then with Aisha, haunted him every day. He carried their memories with him, a constant reminder of the choices he had made and the lives that he had been forever altered by them. His reign, once filled with hope and promise, was now overshadowed by the sorrows of his past.